Today I'm ranking every single VCT finals to find out which one was the best. Now, you might be wondering what qualifies as the best. Is it purely preference or is there some kind of criteria behind it? The way it works is, I'm gonna watch every single game and rank the series on a tier list based on two main aspects. I'm separating this into game aspects and story aspects. The game aspects will be things like how competitive the games are, how many maps were played, and how entertaining each one was. Story aspects will be things like the history between the teams, the storyline of the winner and the individual players, as well as the storyline of the game itself. For example, a reverse sweep will always be more hyped than a 3-0. You get the gist of it, so let's get into it. The first ever VCT final was won by Sentinels in the Masters Reykjavik 2021. Since this was the first VCT tournament, the competition was still weak, and Sentinels was ahead of everyone else. So much so that they just won every single game. In fact, they didn't drop a single map the whole tournament. The only team they struggled against was Fnatic, and in the finals I would even argue that Fnatic played better Valorant, but Sentinels were way better individually, and were winning more aim duels. Prime Tens was just shitting on everyone, and he got the MVP for the finals that ended in a very comedic way with a team flash by Mystic that lost them the round. Overall, this was an entertaining final with close maps, some hype clutches, and since this was the first ever final, I'm putting Sentinels 2021 at a high C tier. If you think that's low, I'm sorry Sun fans, but it was definitely not the greatest. Masters Berlin 2021 was again an EU vs NA Grand Final, but with two different teams this time. FNS's Envy vs Redgar's Gambit battled it out and the maps were really close. 15-13, 13-11 and 13-9. A 3-0 for Gambit, but a better grand final than the previous one. The level of play was slightly higher, and it seemed like a battle of the IGLs as both teams played a very meticulous and tactical game. The difference maker was really that one team had Chronicle and the other one didn't. He ended the series plus 28 playing Sova and Smokes, which is absolutely unreal. Little did we know, Chronicle would become the most condecorated player in the history of the VCT Internationals. Finesse also had a very rough series individually, even though he was smurfing on the calls, but hey, all good. For the slightly better play, I'm putting Gambit 2021 at a C tier right above Sentinels. The Valorant Champions 2021 was the first time both finalists were from the same region. EU versus EU, Acend versus Gambit, and if you look at the stats you might have thought it went the way of Gambit. Nats plus 31 and Chronicle plus 14 overall. However, the ones who took the trophy home were Acend. So what the hell happened? This was also our first 5-game final, and in the first map, Acend started 9-1. And let me ask you a question here. Does 1. Acend closes the map, or 2. Nats and Chronicle? No, there are no more words to that sentence, just Nats and Chronicle. I mean, it's 9-1, surely Acend don't lose this. How? It was 9-1! You know what Nats means, no access to site. He went plus 16 and Chronicle went plus 14 on defense, pulling an unthinkable comeback to win the first map. The second map went the way of Acend pretty comfortably, as they won 13-7. And in the third map, yeah, we don't talk about the third map. Complete one-sided affair, again Nats and Chronicle completely shitting on Acend. At this point I thought it was done. After a loss like this it seemed like Acend didn't have it in them to bring it back, but I was wrong. Fourth map, here we go. In the beginning of the second half, it actually looked like Gambit were going to take the map. However, Acend learned from the previous maps and did the OP strat. Avoid Nats. And it worked as they won 14-12 in a very back and forth icebox. It was all left to whoever had the better split, and it just looked like Gambit kind of ran out of gas as Acend won 13-8. Overall, this was a better final than the previous two since it went to 5 maps, but only 2 were highly competitive, and that last map had a very anticlimactic ending. Still a good watch, and a good storyline for Acend, who came out of nowhere to win the event. I'm thinking B tier, close to A. Next. Now this was a banger.
And I know bangers.
Optic vs Loud was, in my opinion, the best rivalry in Valorant. Every single time these two faced each other, you know you were in for the best Valorant matches of the year. They had already played earlier in the tournament and Loud took the series 2-1. This was the opportunity for Optic to redeem themselves and take revenge on Loud, and one thing Optic were already known for was their revenge matches. To put it simply, Optic didn't lose revenge matches, but oh boy was this a close one. Optic pulled a masterclass on Acend defense, winning the half 10-2. Now let me ask you a question here. Do you think A, Optic takes the series, or B, Sadak masterclass? Well, if you said B, you're kinda right. Sadak called a really good defense side, so much so that in the 21st round it was 11-9. A crazy comeback if they managed to pull it off, but fortunately for Optic, they had Jimmy, the Iceman aka Marved.
They can good on the journey. Here, Marv gets a little bit deeper towards middle, but it looks like he's already been seen, yeah.
Big.
Still good for
How did he get here? I didn't even catch that. KJ's on his own.
Around in a while, but time being bought already. You can see just at the back of the side, Lex is
One
still
kill.
solid enough. The spray comes in. Sassy wants to help out.
Timing. He's got a timing.
Marv, he's behind him.
Oh.
He's gonna just unleash it.
Marv's again! Again!
Digs deep when they need it, but it's still a 2v2, and we've seen these have problems. And Carter still stands.
He has smoke. He has TP. He's got to use a smoke, right?
Marv's going to be expected.
He's not using it.
Gotta look towards CT as well. Keep that build in the back of your mind. Who gets?
Oh my god!
Moment for this man. Sadak now.
This guy is fucking perfect, bro! Oh my god, he's winning them the game, dude! This guy is actually ice.
They won 13-9, but you can already see that for these two teams nothing is impossible. This series overall was just pure cinema. Multi-kills and moments of individual brilliance were plenty for both teams. The second and third map went to overtime, and even though it was a 3-0, this series really could have gone either way. It wasn't only a battle of the IGLs though, it was a battle of the duelists, initiators, controllers and sentinels, with every single player having moments to step up and do something crazy. These two teams weren't only the best teams at the time, but they would be remembered as two of the best rosters in Valorant history. And therefore, even though we only saw 3 maps, I'm putting Optic 2022 at the A tier. Moving on to Copenhagen 2022. The finalists were PRX and FPX, and even though both teams' names are similar, their gameplay was very different. FPX having a very tactical approach to the game, slowly gaining map control and collecting info before making a decision, while PRX were the embodiment of WK gaming, with a very loose and fun style of Valorant, allowing their very strong individuals to shine in the chaos created by them. The final went all the way to 5 maps, but some were not competitive at all. For the first 3 maps, it seemed like one team was clearly superior than the other, which took away a bit of the enjoyment of watching it. Bind went to FPX with a very one-sided 13-3, and Icebox went to PRX 13-7. Icebox had a crazy Gen.G ace, but the highlight was really Mindfreak playing without socks on stage. Ew! Then Fracture first half ended 6-6 and I thought we finally would have a good game, but FPX won every single round in the second half except for the bonus, yet another 13-7. The 2 last maps were better. Haven had a lot of multi-kills from both PRX and FPS players, but even though it ended 13-7, it was a much more enjoyable watch than the previous maps. That's the third 13-7 in a row, by the way. Also, have I told you how insane Xiao has been throughout this series? He wasn't losing any aim duels, absolutely locked in, and maybe it was because of his many clutches and multi-kills that FPX pulled ahead and won the event. The last map was Breeze, and PRX pulled the most PRX composition ever. Neon, Yoru, Astra, Fade, Breach. I mean, this is the type of shit you dodge in solo queue. But they made it work, until they didn't. 9-7 was the score, but then FPX activated. Or maybe PRX ran out of gas. Either way, the series ended with a crazy ace from Sui Sui, and even though the first maps were kinda mid, the series picked up towards the end. So I'ma put FPX 2022 at the B tier right next to Acend. Remember that rivalry I was telling you about? Another Loud vs Optic grand final, and this time for champions. Since Optic won the last final, these two have played 3 times. Once in Copenhagen with an Optic 2-1 win, and twice already in the tournament. Yes, they played each other in the group stage with a 2-1 win for Optic, then in the upper bracket with a 2-0 for Loud, and now in the grand finals. Riot! This has to be the only time in esports that the same teams played each other 3 times in the same tournament. But I won't complain, cause that means we get another banger series. And this one might have been even better than the last. Acend was the first map, and it's always fun to watch these two evenly matched teams on Acend because it always comes down to individual moments. Due to the map simplicity is not so much about who makes better calls, but it usually comes down to who has better fundamentals and who is shooting better in the day. The map went overtime and it was pure cinema. Marth finding lurk timings, Ye and Aspis going at it, Crashy's multi-kills, but this map really came down to one man, Sassy. Plus 17 on the first map, you could feel that he was not losing today. Not to them, not again. At this time, Optic was famous for their bind. With the use of the teleports, FNS's creativity as the best IGL in the game meant that Optic always had the upper hand, and these proved to be true as they won without much trouble.
That was just Aspis!
There's no way Aspis wins this. If he won this, that is literally a meme.
Now. And I'll tell you, none of us saw it at the start of this round. Aspis though, good for 1,
oh my God,
good for 2, and now just the 1v1. And the correct guess, Victor, none the wiser, forced to pull the trigger!
No! No!
The unthinkable again! The 1v3 in the final seconds!
Then we moved on to Breeze, and on Breeze, Optic's nightmare started. Optic seemed to have the upper hand tactically, but Loud was just shooting different. And this isn't even to say that Optic was not shooting, because they were all playing amazing, but Loud seemed to have an extra gear. The game could have even went Optic's way, as the score was 12-11, but again, individual brilliance from Loud.
So telling at this
Oh,
time,
if he picks this, yeah, gets him.
The team is on the way through cave.
What?
So well, punishing.
No!
Oh, can you believe it?
After that, they won the game 16-14, and looking back, this could have been a 3-0 if both the overtime games went differently, but not today. Loud had been working all year to surpass them after their losses in Masters Reykjavik and Copenhagen, and now they were only one map away. And it's another great map for Optic. And for the same exact reason as Bind, FNS is known for his attack side calling on Haven. Because it's a 3-bomb side map, FNS can easily manipulate the rotations of the enemy with his excellent calling. I don't care, I will glaze FNS every chance I get. Today, however, Loud was destined to win. The first half score was 7-5, already a win for Loud considering that Optic was on attack, and that was usually their better half. And in the second half, every single round a moment of brilliance from Loud. No matter how well Optic played it, someone on Loud would shut it down. Round after round after round, until the game was over.
It's do or it's die, and it's a double stack towards Sewer. Pancada already ripping the head off of Ye's shoulders. Would they predict the second?
Oh, it's over, it's over.
Pancada!
It's over, oh my God.
Breaking Victor in 2, and now there's only 3 standing, and it's all building towards this A site.
They've got so much utility to work with.
Oh my God.
Pancada and Aspis have both found one.
It was literally meant to be.
13-5. Loud had finally done it, and with Optic not being accepted into franchising, this game marked the end of the greatest rivalry in Valorant. Storyline, crazy games, exciting clutches, this series had everything, and even the maps where the score wasn't close often came down to the tiniest details and were a joy to watch. This was the first final that shook me to my core, and for these reasons I'm putting Loud 2022 in the S tier.
Hey, it's me again. Subscribe. You want to hit that subscribe button so bad, don't you?
Next up was Lock-In, the first tournament of 2023, and again in the finals were the usual suspects.
Cara, nunca senti isso na minha vida. Nunca me imaginaria numa final assim tão rápido.
A 3-0 for Fnatic. Stunned.
Every day since then, we've been clawing and trying our best to make it back to that.
And the pursuit of greatness persists for Fnatic. And now an opportunity to be the first team ever to lift 2 trophies in Valorant.
Loud was going to face Fnatic, and Fnatic had not dropped a single map so far in the tournament. They were trying to achieve what Sentinels had done in the first ever Masters event, a clean sweep on the finals to win the tournament without losing a single map. But Loud also had a plan to win and become the first team to be back-to-back winners in international events, further cementing them as the greatest Valorant roster of all time. But little did Loud know, the greatest roster of all time was standing across the stage from them, and this final was the start of their story. Acend went the way of Fnatic without much trouble. Leo was having a monster of a performance with multi-kills left, right and center. Fracture was actually close in the first half with Twiz and Kawazing reaping heads, but Fnatic put a masterclass of a defense side and won the map 13-7. Again, Leo was the top performing player and it was looking like Fnatic's 3-0 was all but certain. Loud didn't look weak, but Fnatic just looked monstrous, no mistakes from them and all their players were firing on all cylinders. However, on Split, Loud came alive. And did I mention that we are in Brazil?
Loud one, I think Loud. Yeah, I think it's Loud. I think it's Easy. Whoa, look at the crowd. Look at the crowd. Whoa. It's crazy, bro. Yeah.
Every single time Loud got a kill, the arena erupted. The noise was so loud that you could barely hear the co-streamers. And with the support of the Brazilian crowd, Loud started getting into the rhythm. Aspas started getting more and more impact, but the decisive factor for the split win was less. Anchoring the site and getting several multi-kills, he pushed Loud to a 13-9 win. A close map and the first that Fnatic had lost in the tournament, but a glimmer of hope and the whole of Brazil started to believe. Lotus started with Fnatic winning the pistol, second round and the bonus, but after that, Loud won 6 rounds in a row to make it 6-3. After some back and forth, the half ended at 7-5, and after winning the second pistol, we were tied at 7-7. And at 7-7, less again.
20 seconds left, it's everything! Showstopper exchange, but look at that! Snakebite, Nano Swarm, reset, let's with 4! Just magnificent!
This man refused to lose, and in the next round, Sadak.
25 seconds. It's so uncertain, but a skip and a hop over it. No way! Shut down, spray down. It's all sad hack. Angle watch for pure reflexes, pure precision. And the ace is denied, but I think he's okay.
Loud showed a very superior defense side, maybe catching Fnatic by surprise with their hardware comp, and won the game 13-8. Every round they won, they heard the crowd, and this gave them confidence, and Fnatic were slowly getting crushed as we moved on to Icebox. And on Icebox again, a hardware composition from Loud. The rounds were scrappy, and Loud was feeding on the chaos. Aspas was winning every duel, and it seemed like everything was going Loud's way.
Wait, what the fuck? Look where the man is!
He's so far up.
He's buying their guns!
And they don't know.
Yeah, what the?
They don't know. Oh, they don't know, they don't know, they don't know!
Bro! What the f*** is wrong? How is he dead? Dude, Aspas is going crazy!
He's taking over.
Oh my god!
Everything Fnatic tried failed, and everything Loud did worked. At halftime, all the Fnatic coach could really say was, guys, let's keep communicating, we're not out yet. There was no actual direction, everyone seemed lost. There was only a promise from Boaster.
Let's win this pistol, and I'll carry us with the IGL in on this attack.
Let's go.
Okay,
Let's go Alpha.
But even the pistol they lost. After winning the bonus, it was 11-4, and here at this dire moment, against all odds, the script that seemed written in stone was no more, and the greatest comeback in Valorant history took place.
Disengages, Spike in his clutches, and everything to play for. Aspas, 21 kills to his name. Looking to make it 22, looking to put it on map point, looking to put it on series point. Damage done though, Turka, that's good. Biding his time, Aspas, a bit of spam will do it. Trying to reset the aim, wide swing, flick of the wrist, Turka shuts it down.
And as it turned out, a round was all Fnatic needed to start believing. After that, they came together as one. It wasn't heroics that did it, it was simple teamwork and fundamentals. Fnatic won round after round, and before we knew it, the loudest arena from any Valorant event had turned into a library. No one made a sound, and all the fans could do was watch as Fnatic mounted the comeback of a lifetime.
Pandemonium that strikes back, close position, flank. Kawazine might be earning that kill, but Durka is doing so much, goes down. Oh my goodness! Down to the 2v3. Cove in play, gives him a bit of covering fire, but that's going to get spammed down. 2 years, half on it. A dodge and skip, out for yeah. Loud now, make it even. 3 on 3, Viper's pit, drop down, off to the side, Leo! Right into the smoke. Blessed by RNG, it's divine intervention, and it might just come down to it or not. 12 seconds, wall breaking. Now making the most of it tonight. It's less. Comes down to it, him and Aspas, what can they do? Time running so damn low, but just enough milliseconds. Turret clear, doesn't know the positioning. So much to do, so much to watch for. Durka leaves his feet hanging, an easy target, but time running low, and Fnatic know all they have to do is wait. All they have to do is buy that extra time. And as the spike ticks down, Alfie, comfortable in his mind, comfortable in the presence, knowing that they have drawn even. Anything to make this doable. A tap on the spike, Aspas.
Is Alfie win these?
Oh my god, oh my god.
Calm,
Oh my god, oh my god.
The lineup, that shot was insane.
Get crazy goosebumps, dude. There's no way, man.
Everybody in the building. And Loud have one shot, one chance at stopping the magic like that. Look what it means to these guys.
Alarm bot spotted. Right down the middle, Les is lined up and set up, yet still Chronicle lands the shot, Sadak stunned, and he's still, no one watches. Spike to the side, Louder doing it!
Fnatic respond though, 10 seconds on the clock.
And do they have time? Spike off to the side, picks it up, there's a gap in the play. And with the wall down, he gets the plant. Can be denied, breaks a portion. And still it's down the post to the IGL, can he do it? All up to him, all down to this, and it's not gonna be the case. Down mid, but the rest allowed, make sure that they can creep and crawl and right into the line of sight. Durka will not let that go unpunished. Big flash play through, and it's a collateral.
Durka runs Icebox. If you want to win this trophy, you got to go through him. What a difference this round. An absolute shutdown, surely. Aspas cannot be allowed to do this one.
25 health. Dashes to the side, revealed, positioning known, spike out of reach. Moving forwards, util out, but the shot does it. Dash forwards to the side, slow warp, supplements. Durka are able to take this fight, but it's a little bit labored, a little bit strained. Dart lighting them up, swings down, spray down! Everyone
oh my god. Oh my god, it's a library.
It's
so quiet in here.
They can feel it.
It's so quiet.
And at the end, it was Aspas in a 1v5. But no matter how dangerous that man was, everyone around the world knew. Loud had lost, and Fnatic had showed the greatest resilience that I have ever seen from any roster from any game. This fan's reaction summed up the finals, a roller coaster of emotions with an unbelievable ending. As you can guess, it's an S tier for me. And I spent a lot of time on this one, so let us move a bit faster. The Tokyo Masters 2023 finals came with a twist. EG, Evil Genius, led by Potter and Boostio, surprised everyone by only losing one game in the tournament and reaching the finals as the third seed from the Americas League. The one series they lost was against Fnatic, the previous Masters winners and their opponents in the finals. This was an entertaining match, but Fnatic was just a tier above everyone else. I don't think a single roster, past or present, could have won versus this Fnatic, besides Leo, Durka and Chronicle, who had performed insanely well in the last tournament. Alphayear joined in, going plus 23 overall. It was literally the best IGL in Europe, surrounded by the 4 best performing players in the world. Fnatic won 3-0, becoming the first roster to win 2 major tournaments, and the only to win 2 consecutive till today. There were a lot of exciting rounds, and EG made it very competitive with Boostio's heroics, Com's flanks, and Ethan's clutches, but I'm only putting this final in the bottom of B tier because it was a 3-0. However, EG would have their chance again, and for the Champions 2023 tournament, they would be facing PRX. EG, making it all the way to the finals again, proved to everyone that last Masters run was not a fluke. They were looking incredible, and Jogamo, who seemed to be their missing piece last tournament, was in the best shape he'd ever been. This was a very exciting series because of the style of chaotic Valorant that PRX brings to the table. Demon 1 and Jogamo looked like something out of this world, as they went plus 31 and plus 23 in the series. Bind was a stomp for EG, but the other 3 maps were great. Some of the highlights from the series were this ace from Boostio on Lotus and the iconic Demon 1 winning moment. Overall, very high quality Valorant with many individual moments and impact rounds. Every single person had their opportunity to shine, so I will place this one in the A tier below Optic. Now, before we go into 2024, let's pause here and look at the numbers. 5 finals for EMEA and 4 finals for America made these 2 very dominant regions. China and APAC had very competitive teams, but with 0 titles it was hard to make a case for them, but that would change the year after. As for how many maps were played per final, there were 4 3-map series, 2 4-map series and 3 5-map series, making for an average of 3.9 maps per final. And from this point onward, that would be even higher, because every single final for 2024 and 2025 so far have been 5-map series, and some of the best of all time. Started with Sentinels Masters Madrid win versus Gen.G. Gen.G had rose to become the best team from the Pacific region, beating DRX and PRX, the 2 best APAC teams to qualify for the event. They were in the best shape they had ever been, but so was Sentinels. With Sen's role swapping to controller and Zaken taking over the duelist role, led by John QT, Sen also looked like they were in their best form ever. And this 5-map banger of a series delivered some of the best Valorant I've ever seen. Every single player had crazy individual performances, and all of them at some point won a round by themselves. But the collective was even better. These 2 teams played their game to perfection, and this series really came down to the smallest of details. Even Lakia, who is the player who was performing worse in the finals, had rounds like these.
Defending from every different avenue. Popping off. Oh my goodness.
Into the post plant. Again, that weaponry isn't good, but util is. Look at that. It's a coordinated effort. An absolutely filthy spray transfer.
This series was absolute cinema, and we got to see TenZ finally lift another trophy after 3 years. Second got over 100 kills in the finals, which has to be some kind of record. I'm putting this in the S tier just behind the Fnatic Cloud series because of the quality of the Valorant that was played. The Pacific region would remain cursed as no team had won an international event yet, but that would not last long. Because in the next finals, Gen.G was victorious. And even though it went to 5 maps, it wasn't even close. Their opponents were Heretics, a European team that had taken the scene by storm by getting 2nd seed in Europe. They looked really good throughout this tournament, and their style of play was unconventional and exciting to watch. However, Gen.G just looked like the best team of the tournament. In the 3 maps Gen.G won, they just looked a tier above Heretics, and the results demonstrated that. 13-6, 13-4 and 13-3. Pure Korean dominance. Heretics made it entertaining by winning the 2nd and 3rd map, but because of the underwhelming ending to the series and Gen.G's dominance, I'm putting this series in the B tier above Fnatic and below FPX. The first win for APAC, and right after that the first win for China. EDG were the 2024 champions winners, and what a series it was for Kangkang. Plus 38 overall, 111 kills. The best performance ever from any player, beating the previous kill record by 10. Heretics were on the other side, and again they lost in the grand finals. Out of the 5 maps, only 3 were really close, but it always felt like EDG had the upper hand purely because of how good Gen.G was playing. I don't think that a single player can ever win a game by themselves. Valorant is a team game after all. But in this series, Gen.G did the closest thing anyone can do to solo winning the game. And if you don't believe me, just look at this clip.
Shifted onto them and Gen.G forced to step up to the moment. Dash to avoid and shots are fired. Gen.G, he's monstrous when he gets going, and he does it almost single-handedly.
Now imagine this the whole series. Seriously, did someone drug test this guy? If you're a duelist player, or if you just love seeing high-paced games with crazy entries, I suggest you'd watch this back. And even though the first 2 maps were very one-sided, Heretics played great and the last 3 were really close, making this finals very exciting to watch. I'm putting this series at the bottom of A tier for those reasons, and let's move on to the last one. The first Masters of 2025 came with a surprise. T1, an org that had never done well internationally, was in the finals of a VCT tournament. After some changes to their roster, the T1 Valorant team was revived, but coming into the event they were not considered favorites. In fact, they even came dead last in the power rankings of the popular Valorant podcast, Platchat. So getting to the finals surprised everyone, and even then, the favorites to win it all were G2, their opponents. And in the first map, they showed exactly that. 13-5 for G2, and it was looking grim for T1. But after that map, T1 showed some life. 13-9. And this map was close, but not as close as the next 3. Abyss, Split and Pearl. These last 3 maps just seemed like a highlight reel. Clutches, 1v3s, 1v4, insane aces, everybody was popping off. With a 13-11 and 2 overtimes in the last 3 maps, this series could have gone either way. But T1 seemed meant to win it all. A team that was the underdog of the tournament, a team that everyone doubted. A team that had to fight every step of the way, that had to beat the EMEA, China and APAC #1 seeds to get to this point. They weren't going to fail at their last match, not this team. Calm and collected, they held their nerve until the last round. And look what it meant for them. Stax and Buzz had finally broken the DRX curse, and this roster is looking deadly for the Toronto Masters. I'm gonna be covering their journey in a future video, so subscribe if you want to see that. Overall, this series had incredible Valorant. Collective and individuals all shining from both sides, and even though the first map was very one-sided, the storyline makes up for it. Plus, I have a bit of a soft spot for Stax and Buzz, the oldest and one of the most entertaining duos in Valorant. And they finally got their international win, which just warms the heart, you know? I'm putting T1 at the S tier below Sentinels and above Loud, as our last VCT winner. And that concludes our tier list. If you think I've misplaced any of the series, let me know in the comments. And don't forget to subscribe, 99% of you are not subscribed. And like the video for 10 years of good ranked teammates. I promise I have that power, don't ask me. But yeah, that's it for me today, and I'll see you guys next time.